Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to start the module 2 of research methodology and IPR. So hope first module was helpful for your internals and all, and there are many requests for module 2 and other videos of research methodology. So last month I was a bit busy with my academic schedule and personal leaves, vacations and all. So hopefully we'll finish this module 2 as soon as possible. See, in module 1 we discussed about the basic things and ethical issues related to the thing and what is research. Okay, all those things we have discussed. So in module 2 we'll be discussing about the literature review and technical reading. So literature review and technical reading is if you remember the very first video what we have discussed about how to review a paper by you with the help of Google Scholar. I had given one of the almost 52 minutes one video is there in the playlist, the very first video or a second video, so you can just go through that video, and I guess almost half of the module will be covered in that video. So, topic by topic I am explaining here, but there I have explained in detail along with the the practical application of these topics, like how exactly we can use Google Scholar for reviewing different papers for your projects, or maybe it helps for master students also, MTech students and PhD students, because literature review is same for everyone who is looking for something to do in the field of research. So literature review plays a very important role, and I've told you that it's like 75% in the research is a review of literature, and rest 25% is your work. Like if you want to do something new, then you should know whether that is new or not, right? For that you have to see already existing data or already existing papers. You have to download, you have to look into the information, and then you have to see whether the things are already published or not. If not published, then only you can go for that particular work. If you are not going to do the review of literature, and imagine you got some idea in your mind and you start that particular work, so in that case you are not going to get almost 99.9% probability is there that you will not get your expected results as a new results, or expected research is a new research. Because imagine whatever the idea you got. Now let's start with a fresh thing. So imagine you are engineering student. Now you have to do some project. Now you get some idea in your mind. Okay, I can do this. So can I do this? Next question will be, can I do this? And can I do this? Usually you go and ask your professors and all, and professors might be, if they belong to the same area which you have got the idea, they might give you the proper information or instructions, and they might tell, okay, yeah, in this field the work is not yet being done, you can try this. But most of the times the faculties are not related to the same idea what you are giving to what idea you got. They might not be related to the same field, so they don't know updated knowledge about that field. Okay, so what you have to do is, even if he is a good professor, he will ask you to do the review of literature. And what is review of literature? Review of literature is nothing but already whatever the idea you got, now you are just going and just doing the bibliographical search, or you can just going to see whether things are already there in the market or already there in terms of research or not. That you are going to use search engines like what we discussed in the earlier classes, that is Google Scholar. Okay, and there are a lot of search engines are there for research scholars. We have ResearchGate as a different app and website also, it is there, and we do have Web of Science, we do have NCBI, okay, PubMed for medical journals. There are a number of search engines are there. So idea is to, the goal is to see whether already whatever the idea you got, whether that is already being done by someone or not. So now imagine you are a new person, you go and ask your professor, he will ask you to do a review of literature. Why do he ask to do a review of literature? He will ask you to do a review of literature. Why can't he just simply say that you do this work fine? The reason is very simple. Imagine you got some idea and you start doing work on it. Okay, you start working on it and you spend a lot of money on it. You spend time, you spend energy, you spend resources of the laboratories. Okay, and finally, once the work is done, so you can do as a project, you can submit for your marks, for engineering marks. But if you want to publish that data in reputed journals, that cannot be possible most of the time. Why? The reason is simple. You have not done the review of literature properly, because the idea what you got, okay, might have same idea might have somebody might have got it in maybe in different countries, maybe in European countries, Japan, or any other countries, maybe American countries. So they might have worked 10 years back only. Same idea. 10 years back only some person, X person got in some country. So he had worked on it and he has published his data in some journal. So when you want to publish your data after getting done, when you want to submit in a journal, you will submit in a journal, and when you submit in a journal, the journal will reply you that this work has outdated information. So this work has already been done. This work has already been published by so and so people. Even with the link, they will send you the details. And then at that moment, what do you think? So your idea is fine, but you didn't do the review of literature because of lack of review of literature, or even though if you do the review of literature just for the sake of the grade or for the sake of the just supervisor, that is also not enough. There also you face this issue because you have not found whether the work is already being done or not properly. So if you have not found it, then obviously after doing the work, now when you want to submit, publish it, you cannot publish it because it's already existing. So once you cannot publish the work, now the amount of time, money, energy, resources, and many things whatever you have put on this particular work is wasted. Right or wrong? You might have got experience, but it is wasted. It is for nothing. So the review of literature is 75% in the research, and only 25% is your research, because you should be knowing what you are doing. Okay, you should be knowing whether this particular whatever you are going to do has got it published or not. Now, if whatever you are going to do in the research, even though if you don't know now since the results are not there, now the question arises, since the work is not been published, now you are asking me to do the work, that particular work. How can I do that work? I don't know the results. I don't know what are the outcomes. That's exactly what research is. Research is something you are doing that you don't know what is going to happen. Then only it will be the effective research. So you might have clue that I should get this result, I should get this result, I should get this result. So a result A, result B, result C. These are the three possibilities. So most of the time you will get out of these three possibilities only. Sometimes it goes beyond the three possibilities or beyond the number of possibilities whatever you have in your mind. But whatever the outcome you get, that is definitely new because you have done the review of literature very well. And once that is new, definitely that work is going to be published. Whether you have got a very significant results, whether you have got a very less results, which is not helping much society much, that is immaterial because the new work has to be published. And new, if your work is original, new, and not being published earlier by anyone, then that is what the journal people want. They will publish it. It doesn't matter it has to solve the global warming. It doesn't matter if you are just solving just a simple teeth rubbing issues or teeth this thing issues, or maybe some just smallest applications also is fine, but that has to be new and original. So what you got to know now in the introduction of this module, literature review is very important. Literature review is nothing but finding, when you get the idea, finding a lot of papers in that particular area, reading only related to your area, because a number of papers will be, billions of papers are there in, thousands of publications are there, okay, thousands of journals are there. They will publish around hundreds of papers in every month or every year, okay. So you cannot read all the papers. You have to see what is your idea. Now, based on your idea, what are the papers have been dropped down. So in the search engine, whatever the top papers are coming, relevant papers only you download. You read the papers. Okay, you can, after reading one paper, you write in your own sentence that what it is. So it's like a reviewing the literature. For example, when you go for a movie, you watch a movie. So what you is a review. Usually most of the people will go for a movie after getting the reviews. What do you mean by reviews? You will go, somebody goes for a movie and he watches for 3.5 hours movie. Nowadays most of the movies are coming like 3 hours and more. Okay. And that person, after watching 3 hours of movies, whatever he feels, he will write it in few words or few sentences, maybe maximum 3 or 4 sentences. Some critics, they might go for a paragraph or 10 sentences, or maybe an article on the movie. But a review is around maybe maximum 3 to 5 lines or sentences. Similarly, you have to do, you read whole paper, which may be of 5 pages or maybe 20 pages, and you have to write it down in your own words in just 3 to 5 lines. And you have to cite there. Okay, imagine you have downloaded 50 papers. In the first paper you read and you wrote around 3 paragraphs, 3 lines, and you have to give a reference for that. That is reference number 1. Like that, if you are having around 150 papers in your review of literature, or maybe 100 papers, you can have around hundreds of paragraphs. You will come to know after reading all this, after whatever the papers are related to your idea or relevant to your research, you have downloaded, you have read it, and then only we came to know that there are no much papers which are being which is relevant to this particular my paper. So these are the papers which I have downloaded, has got all the information which has been already published. Even my idea has gone been published. Then you will think your idea has to be modified. After reading a lot of papers, this 100 and 150 papers, you will come to know that there is something missing, there is some gap, or there is something that you can add extra. This is called as finding the research gap. Now once you find the research gap, that itself is your research or a title of your work, and now you will start working on it. It's not simply illogical statements or illogical title. It's a logical title. It's a logical research what you are going to do now, because you are, after reading around 100 papers or 50 papers, you know that particular area now. You know what are the techniques have been used. You know what are the materials have been used. You know what are the results. Now you will just have to change what materials have not used, maybe with the same properties, okay, or maybe with the same applications but different properties, okay. So based on that, you can choose, okay, so and so materials have been used, so and so materials have been used for so and so application. I can use so and so materials for different applications. That can be one of the research, or maybe I can use different materials for the same application. That is another way of doing the research. So finding the research gap is very important. That is done only if you do effective review of literature, and that requires the existing or a new knowledge. So new and existing knowledge has to be there. Whereas existing knowledge, as we discussed so far, new in the sense, obviously the recently published work, maybe from others or maybe from your own team. Okay, so once you read that, once you get it done, and then you are ready to go. And when you do that research, believe me, 99.99% your paper is going to be published in highly reputed journal, because it has come up with a new work. You are come up with an original work. Okay, so under existing information, you might be having textbooks, all those things, whereas in the recent these things, we can go for the research articles or publications, because textbooks are limited in knowledge. Okay, they might be having a lot of knowledge, but they are not having, if for example, if one textbook is published in 2010, the only information till 2010 can be available in that textbook. But in research articles, even yesterday also, there are some of the papers which have been published in your area. You can read those papers and you can see what are the technical advancement that had happened, because it is not restricted to the boundaries or countries. So you might not have much research facilities in our countries, but other countries are having. So they are doing better work. So they are exposed to a lot of things than theirs. So they got it done. So recent work means they have used advancement in the technological aspects, advancement in the laboratory aspects, advancements in the devices what they used for the research. All these things plays a very important role. That's why we need to have both textbook and as well as research papers as our reading in our literature of review for our research. So that's it. That's what the module 2 speaks, that is a literature review and technical reading. Okay. So when you speak about technical reading, it's about mentioning what are the materials they have used, what properties they have exploited of the materials, and for what applications they have used, and what are the results, what are the tests that have been done, okay, what are the methods they have used, all these things, what are the applications, all this comes under technical reading. So let's start with a new topic, that is new and existing knowledge. So, the primary goal of the literature review is to know the use of content, ideas, approaches, okay, in the literature to correctly identify the problem. So, basic goal of the review of literature is to identify the problem. When you identify the problem, when your ideas or contents or approaches, when you search in a Google Scholar or a PubMed or even the Web of Science, you will come to know a lot of papers. Just when you told review of literature. After reading a lot of papers, you will come to know what is not being done. So what is not being done is nothing but that is the problem. So identifying the problem is the major goal of your review of literature. Okay, why? That is visually known beforehand. So to advocate the specific approaches adopted, to understanding the problem, and to access the choice of the methods which are used. So now you know, after reading a lot of papers, now you know what is the problem, and you also have a lot of options to use. These are all out of 50 to 100 papers, whatever you have reviewed. You will be knowing what, since it is idea is matching with you, and that's why you have downloaded the paper, that's why you have read this thing. So you will be knowing what are the methods can I use for new work to solve this particular existing problem. So you have methods, you have approaches, okay. Now you have access to the lot of information which is related to that particular field. So you can start your fresh start with to solve the new problem. So it also helps the researchers understand clearly that the researches to be undertaken would contribute something new and innovative. Obviously, when you find the research gap, okay, please remember the research gap. Now again, I cannot explain everything. Research gap means you should be knowing after reading a lot of papers, okay, whatever the work has not been done, that is our problem, okay, that itself is a research gap. Okay, so once this is been done, so now you will have the clear understanding about whatever the research you are going to do, and you can come up with something new and innovative, because the whatever you already published, you already know, so you will not touch that, but you can use the same methods but different materials for application, or you can use the same different material for same applications, or same material for different applications. Now, the quality of such review can be determined by evaluating if it includes appropriate breadth and depth of the area under study. Okay, maybe there are a lot of things, the quality of the review that can be determined. Okay, how we can determine? By evaluating if it includes appropriate breadth and depth of the area. That means, obviously, when you find a quality, when you want a quality, you should have a more depth knowledge about that particular research area. Okay, clarity has to be there. Okay, study should be there. The area of study should be proper. Rigor, your quality of, if you want quality of review, quality review, you need to be rigorous. That means you need to have a very, the passionate about that particular field of research. Then only it can be done. Consistency should be there. It's not like that today you read 10 papers and tomorrow 0 papers. Next week no papers. It should be like, even though you read 2 papers per day, that has to be 2 papers per day for whole week. That will be around 12 or 14. But if you read 10 papers one day and you leave off for a whole month, then what's the use? That's why the consistency plays a very important role. Then effective analysis, you need to analyze it effectively. That means just by reading the paper and writing it, okay, this is so and so and they have done, that is not enough. Once after reading out of around 50 to 100 papers, around 10 papers or 5 papers which are closely related to your idea, right? So those papers clearly pin to pin whatever the methods they have used, what the results they have got, and what the outcome I can get it from this particular research articles. That has to be effectively analyzed. Next, new knowledge in research can only be interpreted within the context of what is already known. So obviously, new knowledge means in the research means that can be interpreted only with the help of what is already known. So if it is, you can differentiate new thing if you know what is already old. Here in the research, what is old? Already published data. Okay, and cannot exist without the foundation of existing knowledge. And it doesn't mean that the new knowledge will come like that from the air and it can be done. No, new knowledge will come into existence only with the help of existing knowledge. Obviously, so and so they have done, they have not this done, so I am going to do this. For example, for anti-corrosion property, they have used silver nanoparticles. I will use some iron nanoparticles, or maybe some ferrites or something, or maybe some other aluminum oxide nanoparticles or something like that. So here already existing knowledge will act as a foundation for the new knowledge. So new knowledge can have vastly different interpretations depending on what the researcher's background is. Obviously, it doesn't feel like what is the research background is. Like, for example, I come from a biotechnology background and the nanotechnology background. When I started my research in my master's, so I thought of doing something and I end up with something. So it went to the microbiology, antimicrobial properties. So where the biotechnology is the major thing, one of the topic is microbiology. Microbiology I was not much interested, but with the help of, I was interested in nanotechnology, but the applications when I found, so I found very less application in antimicrobial properties back then in 2014 or 2013. So obviously I chosen those particular topic. So the new knowledge can have vastly different interpretation depending on what the researcher's background is. Now the significance can normally be argued from the point of view that there is indeed an existing problem. There is an indeed existing problem is there, and that it is known by looking at what already exists in the field. That means that existing problem, how you came to know? After doing a lot of review of research only, you found the research gap. That research gap itself is existing problem. So existing problem, the new problem, you got it from the existing information already in the field. So now the existing knowledge is needed to make the case that there is a problem, that it is unimportant. So obviously new knowledge, you will get it from the existing knowledge, And why do we need existing knowledge? So that existing knowledge will give us evidence, clear evidence that there is a problem. Without existing knowledge, you cannot say that there is a problem. Once we have that existing knowledge, we can say that these are all the existing applications, but these all applications are not able to solve this problem. So you have to give some new approach so that you can solve that problem. Simple like that. So one can infer that the knowledge that is sought to be produced does not exist by describing what other knowledge already exists. So by printing out that this part is missing, so that we have is a original. So obviously when you go for the particular review of literature, then only you say that this particular work, the solution is not existing. So I have to go for the describing the new knowledge or new ideas, right? So now then you can come up with that particular missing thing is there, so that we have is original. So we can say that so and so work has not been done, so we are doing so and so work that was not been done earlier studies. To do this, one again needs an existing knowledge. Obviously you want to say that this is my work is a new one. How you will say that? Because with already existing work, you will have to tell that so and so people have done so and so work, and they have not done this work. I have conducted this work which is original. So where does this existing knowledge come from? Definitely, normally one finds the knowledge by reading and surveying the literature in the field that was established long ago, or recently published papers with continuously exchanging or updating knowledge. Obviously, from where we will get this knowledge, existing knowledge? You have to do the review of literature, you have to read the textbooks, you have to read the information regarding your field. So example, we are having two things here, textbooks and research papers or review papers also. So textbooks are nothing but already established data. In 2010, one textbook is published means it will have limited knowledge only till 2010. Whereas research papers are not like that. Every day, today morning also some journal will publish some papers. So that updated data it will be having. So textbook, established data, whereas research articles or review papers will have updated data. So review process, how exactly the review process works? It starts with, you can say that around 7 steps are there. It starts with idea, as we discussed in the beginning of this class. So idea will be around like topic to the area of research. Okay, so your idea will lead to the topic. So topic in the sense it finds some area of research. In my case, it was a microbial nanotechnology. Okay, or just a it was earlier just a nanotechnology. Okay, I wanted to use nanoparticles from biological applications. So now search published research articles. Now I have searched a lot of papers in the field of what are the microbes which are used for the synthesis of nanoparticles, or nanotechnology application. I searched nanotechnology application microbiology. So I found a lot of microbes that were used to synthesize nanoparticles. So that was the searching application. So after reading all of the papers, I collected all the papers. So collect relevant papers. So I have collected around more than 130 papers. So I read it, I analyzed all those papers. So after reading those papers, I came to know that a lot of species, microbial species have been used to synthesize silver nanoparticles, gold nanoparticles, many nanoparticles, right? So now find what is missing is nothing but a research gap. Now what I found in my example, I am telling you an example because it will be helpful for you to remember. So I analyzed the papers. After analyzing the papers, I came to know that there is something missing, that is research gap. What was missing? They have not used any penicillin species for synthesizing the silver nanoparticles specifically, and they have not used it for some antimicrobial properties. Why I chose penicillin? Because there was not much study focused on nanotechnology related to penicillin. Why I studied, that was first reason. Second reason why I took penicillin is, penicillin was the first antibacterial antibiotic which has been used by obviously the penicillin. So next, why I chosen silver nanoparticles? Because that was also having antimicrobial property. Silver in the bulk only is having an antimicrobial property. When it is registered in nano, definitely it will have more antibacterial property. So I wanted to synthesize silver nanoparticles from the penicillin species for the antibacterial, antimicrobial applications, because The penicillin is well known for antimicrobial activity, and this thing antibiotics, and the silver is well known for antimicrobial activity. When you combine these things, obviously I should be getting the best antimicrobial property, right? So that was the problem I identified, and that was the research gap. Now what is the research gap? Now the research gap is equal to problem statement or a problem identification. So my problem statement was synthesizing the silver nanoparticles from the penicillin species. Now highlight the problem or issue. So now I highlighted the issue in my paper. So and so have been done, candidate species they have used that species, they have used this species, bacillus species, that this thing and all, but they have not used the silver nanoparticles with penicillin species that have not been tried. So I am focusing on this particular research. So my work is original or a new work. So now that, what is my title now? Title of the project or research to be carried out in the end. So my title is now synthesis of nanoparticles, silver nanoparticles from the penicillin species. So where it started? It started with the nanotechnology, that is the topic or area of research. Okay, then nanobiotechnology, then published research, researching the article, then collecting the relevant paper, then reading and analyzing, then finding what is missing out, that is nothing but research gap. Now defining the problem statement, that is a research gap is equal to problem statement. Then finally the title of the project or research to be carried out. Now I started working on the penicillin species with the silver nanoparticles. So I won't be having any issues now, because so far I have not been done any work. So when I did that work, and after it took me almost 7 months or 8 months, then after 3 months I have submitted paper in one of the conference, and then after 1 year I published it information. Since even though it took almost 1.5 years, I was able to publish that because the review of literature was effectively done, right? That's why the review process includes like this. So an effective review of literature ensures the firm foundation of the advanced knowledge, facilitates the theoretical growth, eliminates as areas that might be of interest, and opens a new avenues of possible work. So in my case, all these things happened. Effective review was there, so it ensured the strong foundation of advancing knowledge. So I knew since 2014 or 13 whatever the work has been done in that particular field, and facilitates the theoretical growth. So I built our own theory, the theoretical approaches, how to do it, what methods to be used, all those things, and eliminates as areas that might be of interest. So I can eliminate the general nanotechnology, general biotechnology, then I can narrow down into the microbial nanotechnology, okay, and opens a new avenue of possible work. That was the antimicrobial property from both silver and penicillin. So an efficient literature review is centered around the concepts but not the authors. This is very important. I cannot simply, if there are some few authors, scientists are there, I cannot simply download only their papers and read and all. It should be based on the concepts, not by the authors. A good literature survey is typically a two-step process. First thing is what? Identify the major topics or subtopics or concepts relevant to the subject under the consideration. You need to identify the major topics. So my major topic was antimicrobial property and microbiology and nanobiotechnology, okay, or concepts relevant to the subject. So concept was antimicrobial approach. So second one, the place the citation of the relevant resource. Now whatever the papers have been downloaded, so around 38 papers were out of 132, around 38 papers were closely relevant to my ideas. So I had cited all those 38 citations, references in my work, in my first published paper. So articles, patent, website, data, etc., whatever it can be, wherever you get the information, you can cite it. Citing is nothing but when you do the project report, in the end you will put reference. That means, now I told and I will explain it. So when you read one paper, you write in your own words 3 lines. So you will put it in a bracket, in a square bracket as 1. So that is your reference number 1. So under reference section, that whole information you have to put there. So that is called citation. So place the citation of the relevant sources in the correct category of the concept, topic, subtopic with the help of an example. Okay. So there you can have, the confusion will not be there. If you have any other, if you want to add some other points or something in when doing review of literature, you just go to the review reference, click on them, then go to the different paper, its whole paper, read again, and then come back. So then one should write about the highlighted part without copying it. That's what you after reading a lot of papers, you highlight some part, so you write. Now you cannot copy paste, you have to write in your own words. So yes, one writes about why one thinks that a part is important and what it contains. One is automatically changing it and making it fit into one's foundation in a way that makes sense. For example, when I was doing my research, so I found that the silver nanoparticles was synthesized by the microbes, so maybe some bacteria, bacillus bacteria. So once I read that, so I automatically knew that since the bacteria has got the ability to synthesize nanoparticles, then why can't the fungus, that is the penicillin species, can't do? So that was the process. Automatically you will change it and you will make it fit into one's foundation so that it makes sense. So there are shaping and crafting of that piece of knowledge to fit where one needs to be, right? So here I fit that all these antimicrobial property and the microbes and their ability, their properties, I fit into this thing, I crafted it, and finally I was able to make the title. So to build the knowledge of foundation, one needs to be reading and learning continuously. Obviously, the knowledge foundation, if you want it to be very strong, you have to every day by day you have to read the papers in your particular area of research, whatever you are doing, so that if any new thing comes, you can add it. And if whatever you are doing, the same work is already been coming and publishing in tomorrow's paper, then day after tomorrow when you read the tomorrow's paper, then you will feel that they have to change that approach. Now the comprehensive literature survey, it should have a lot of things. First thing is methodically analyze. You need to analyze methodically which method after around 38 papers I read, shortlisted out of 132. So in that only 3 or 4 papers were there which I found these are the methods, easier methods, and it is I can do it in my laboratory. So and next, synthesize quality archived work. Obviously whatever the already published work is there, so make sure that that is helping you, and then provide a firm foundation to a topic of interest. So firm foundation is nothing but whatever the requirements are there, the materials requirement, maybe device requirements, or maybe the concept wise, maybe theoretical wise, you should be ready with all those things. That is a firm foundation to be to a topic of research. Next, the choice of suitable research methodologies. So what method you are using, that has to be chosen, and then demonstrate that the proposed work would make a novel contribution to the overall field of research. And in the end, after research and after we get the results, so you have to discuss it. Results and discussion is the section. You have to discuss and you have to tell that your particular work has got a particular application that is very new. So that's it for the today. Tomorrow in the next class we will take the analysis and synthetic synthesis of prior art. Okay, I hope you understood. If any doubts, please write it to me.